You're about to find out a secret. You're about to discover what occurred within one of the most terrifying occult groups in all of history, a dark fellowship that began nearly 100 years ago. Legend has it that the original members believed they could live under the earth and fly to faraway stars powered by a mysterious substance called Vril. They also believed that one day they would take over the world. They came very close. This dangerous group existed at the core of the Nazi Party. And like many dark fellowships, their remnants still exist today. The legends behind history's dark fellowships are terrifying. But sometimes the truth is even darker than the legends. Throughout the course of time, there have always been secret organizations, benign and not. The truth behind the bizarre Vril Society is especially unsettling, as they were no friendly group of Shriners.
The Vril Society is the most mysterious German secret society ever in history. They were originally founded before the Second World War, and their influence reaches out even till today.
Its members allegedly included many of the Nazi Party elite, like Hermann Göring, Heinrich Himmler, and even Adolf Hitler.
The Vril Society was a dark fellowship. They sought to achieve the mastery of the Aryan race.
Before Nazism existed, these Vril occultists worked in complete secrecy, doing anything and everything to achieve Aryan power.
What they did, that ranged from straightforward political assassinations, trying to evoke the spirits of the dead, good old-fashioned, what one might call sexual orgies, and more sinisterly, human sacrifice.
Michael Fitzgerald is one of the very few historians willing to identify the secrets of the Vril Society, no matter how scandalous. Few records exist, but his knowledge comes firsthand.
Some of my information about the Vril Society has come from direct sources. Some of them swore me to secrecy during their lifetime and have now died.
So now he is free to speak the truth.
The Vril Society was a group of people founded at the end of the First World War, and it included many people who were to go on to become prominent in the Nazi Party.
Like any secret society, it had its secret practices. But what made the Vril Society so bizarre was their obsession with an intangible substance or power force called Vril.
This power was universal energy. It could do anything. All currents of harm and healing and so on were enclosed within it. It's similar to the Indian concept of prana in many ways, or the Chinese concept of qi.
Qi, the life energy that runs through us all. The Vril Society believed they could access this energy.
And they believed that Vril power could be used to gain material power.
So they were frantically searching for this Vril force. My research has established that certain bureaus in Nazi Germany were frantically searching for this new energy.
And of course, to attain such a supernatural power would require supernatural efforts.
They sought the power of Vril through a variety of different means. There were naturally meditative practices, which were obviously the mainstay of most of their activities.
But they weren't meditating to gain inner peace.
The theory is that they practice these meditation techniques in order to further the strength of the Vril in themselves.
If it was a strength that could potentially dominate the world, wouldn't such a bastion of evil have done more than esoteric meditation to attain it?
They were also very involved with what one might call loosely sex magic.
There's an enormous history of sexual magic, going back to witches and witches using sexual powers. This is nothing new.
In this case, the magic of sex to summon the power of Vril.
There were some sexual practices that went on in the Vril Society.
This carnal method of harvesting Vril was really just an excuse for swapping partners. Group sex and meditation, far from evil, and actually quite popular for other groups in the era. But these weren't the only rituals that powered the Vril Society.
The darkest side of the Vril was undoubtedly their belief, which dates back many thousands of years, that to sacrifice a young child will give more power than anything else if you are turning to the darkness. And that is what they did.
After the First World War, Bavaria was home to many illegitimate and orphaned children. Children whose disappearance would go unnoticed. And legend had it that the Vril of a child was the most concentrated and most powerful.
They were seen as being gateways between the astral and the material world in a way that adults were not. So consequently, they were ideal victims for human sacrifice.
Human sacrifices to harness an intangible energy? Where did this Vril notion come from? The concept of this Vril was brought to the public in 1871 in The Coming Race by Edward Bulwer-Lytton.
In that book, he describes an underground race called the Vrilia.
And they, of course, have complete mastery of the Vril force.
And with that, they can do almost anything.
The gist is that the hero, he goes caving and he falls through a crack and finds himself in a subterranean world inhabited by a race of super beings called the Vrilia, who live down there and who have access to this magical energy, this strange electrofluid called Vril.
Vril?
Vril.
Vril.
Vril. It gives them the power to do almost anything. They can use it to heal, they can use it to kill.
They can also destroy mankind in the blink of an eye.
And anyone who held this power could wield it.
The protagonist finds out in the course of the novel that a child could use Vril to destroy an entire city.
So imagine if this Vril got into the wrong hands. Could it be this era of obsessive madness and horror stemmed from something in a science fiction novel?
Lytton's novel, The Coming Race, in many respects precursored at least some of the ideology that led to the final solution.
The end of the book comes with a very serious warning.
These subterranean keepers of the Vril could destroy mankind.
Should they come up and decide they wanted to colonize the surface of the planet, we would be doomed.
It may seem the kind of tabloid truth that one would expect to find in sensational newspapers, but the Vril Society really were consciously dedicated to the service of evil, and by their impact on the founders of the Nazi Party, they instilled that evil into the senior leadership of what was to become the most evil regime in the 20th century.